Nancy Pelosi was on CNN really just saying, please, Joe Biden, consider not running. In very coded language. I mean, she said she's acting like Joe Biden hasn't made a decision.
First, what we heard just now from the former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi this morning about President Biden.
My favorite news reporter. That's right.
I want him to do whatever.
Here's the Sneeko clip. Is this without music?
Trans and I'm gay. Logan Paul is my savior.
Yeah, it's just a random YouTube short that had 300 likes. I just
KSI is my favorite. I want to watch Lil Nas X. I like what's on the trending page.
I need this. I need this without the music. I'm trans and I'm gay. How social media brainwashes you. Sure, man. That's what he was saying. Oh, sacred head behind him. I think it'd be funny to just put anything behind him. Or honestly, most of the time it would play without any music, and I think that's even funnier. Just like fully quiet, maybe with a little bit of like room echo. Called in. Yeah. Hang on, guys. We just got a call. I'm trans and I'm gay.
It's to do. And that's the way it is. Whatever he decides, we go with. I think it's really important, and I would hope everyone would join in, to let him deal with this NATO conference. This is a very big deal. Over 30 heads.
I'm so tired of hearing about NATO, and that's apparently what this whole fucking week is dedicated to, is what Joe Biden's doing with NATO right now. Well, meanwhile, his campaign is on fire.
Of state
actually
are here.
Aflame.
He is the host of it, and that means not just hosting, it
30
means
head?
orchestrating the discussion and setting
30 sacred head
the agenda, and he's doing so magnificently. And I've said to everyone, let's just hold off. Whatever you're thinking, either tell somebody privately, but you don't have to put
Just
that out on the
on.
table until we see how we go this week.
Jeff, what do you hear in that? I mean,
yeah, she kept saying, once actually questioned, it's up to Biden if he decides to run, which I think we know what his decision is. He's nonstop been saying, I'm running, Jack. Don't get in my way. He literally on Morning Joe, when he called in, sounded like the Crypt Keeper. He was literally like, I'm good, Jack. Challenge me, Jack. Watch me.
Pelosi saying, I want him to decide
Sacred
and do
head.
whatever he decides to do. I mean, we have heard what Joe Biden says he has decided to do. But what do you hear from Speaker Pelosi?
No cursing?
And what do you hear from, what are you hearing in Michael Bennett?
I am a woman and it is Wednesday. Hello P-boy, are you interested in hearing the word of my love and savior, T4 tonnellate papi girl transbians?
To say that he doesn't think Biden can win.
Watch me, Jack.
Hey, Kate, good morning. If you unpack what Speaker Pelosi is saying there, it's actually quite interesting. She is saying that hold off. No one should make any proclamations, at least publicly, to the Michael Bennetts and others of the world. But she's also saying, let's see how this week goes. Let's see how the NATO summit goes.
Don't say that.
See how the rest of the week goes, and that includes what does polling show.
It's very serious
I am
politics.
told that Democrats really are in a
that.
state of disbelief
Don't
over
say
how this has played out, but particularly they're keeping their eyes on some swing states. What is the data showing this week? So if you listen to what former Speaker Pelosi, who is as close and as a sharp of a reader as polls and the dynamic as really anyone in the party, she is saying, let's take a breath and hold off. But what she did not say is try to really quiet the conversation and that Biden is all in. She said it's up to President Biden. So it was pretty extraordinary there.
It's weird because meanwhile, people like AOC are like, you know, Joe Biden it's decided. He is the king of the Democratic Party or whatever. He is Skibbity. That's what she said.
I had spoken to the president over the weekend. He made clear then, and he has made clear since, that he is in this race. The matter is closed. He had reiterated that this morning. He has reiterated that to the public. Joe Biden is our nominee. He is not leaving.
Who's she? I mean, she's the most popular Progressive Caucus member. Why is she doing this? A couple reasons. Hassan's right when he says the progressives are playing politics in this instance. The entire progressive caucus is behind Joe Biden. And the reason why is the progressives don't get a say in what the establishment Democrats are doing. They can't be like, we need Joe Biden to step aside, because that makes them a super easy target for other figures in the Democratic Party to point and go, especially Joe Biden, to point and go, look, it's the radical left. It's the radical left sabotaging the election again, just like 2016. They're not playing that game because they know it's a losing game. They don't need to be like, it's decided. Joe Biden is the nominee. But you'll notice that every progressive member is specifically saying, like, it's Joe Biden running. It's like his decision. They're not necessarily commenting on whether or not it's a good decision. I think she did say more, but I couldn't find the rest of the clip.
He has spoken to the president over the weekend. He made clear then, and he has made clear since, that he is in this race. The matter is closed.
Like, he has made it clear. The matter is closed. I don't think she's saying this as an enforcing power in the Democratic Party. She's saying the matter is closed because Joe Biden is not going to be convinced by AOC. You know what I mean? That's how progressives operate in the progressive caucus. Now, you could criticize this, of course. I don't think she should be riding with Biden this hard. And, like, really trying to, you know, it sounds like she's trying to whip people into shape, which is not... It just makes her look bad. It really does. But again, that's just politics as well. Just like her saying that he is the nominee is politics. I mean, if Bernie Sanders could be... She endorsed Bernie in 2020. If Bernie Sanders could be the nominee, she would obviously put him forward. Probably before anyone else. She's literally his, like, protege. So, I don't think it's that big of a deal. A lot of leftists online are very annoying about AOC and try to undermine her as if she's like a huge lib, when she's definitely gotten stuff wrong, but she's like the rest of the progressive caucus in Congress. I like AOC, and I think they do good work. I love being annoying. And, you know, I'll criticize individual things they do. I'm not praising them universally, just like I don't with Bernie Sanders either. But I accept them into, like, a greater leftist movement. I don't really have a choice. Meanwhile, though, Pelosi is not taking Biden's side this hard. She's like, I want him to do whatever he decides to do. That doesn't sound like she's saying he is the nominee. She could say this, and then it would be a done deal. Because Nancy is the whip. Nancy is the power player in the Democratic Party that gets people in line. That has always been her position. Always. And people in the House would not be, you know, publishing statements on Joe Biden if Nancy Pelosi didn't allow it to happen. She's the whip and the nay-nay. And chat, I need you to know something. I didn't even know this when I watched this earlier. Nancy Pelosi is 3 years older than Joe Biden. 3 years older. And she's the one looking at him, being like, I have concerns.
And of course, I'm
She's
thinking
84.
back now, just watching those comments made just a few minutes ago on Morning Joe, what she said last week. She really framed the conversation around President
She's like
Biden's
one of the most powerful figures in the Democratic Party.
At the debate,
That's
asking
part of why,
publicly,
because she's older
was that
than
an
her.
episode or a condition? So I think this is the latest sort of words of wisdom or lessons to her party, saying it's up to President.
Like, what happens? Because these guys all die within the same period. They all die or leave office within the same, like, 10, 15-year period of time. What happens? They don't have, like... They don't have, like, a young party to, like, invest into, really. Not the establishment.
Biden, but hold off for now.
Huge power
The
vacuum.
reality is that time is on the side of the president and the White House. They've essentially tried to run out the clock this week and tried to circle the wagons, and they've been pretty successful at doing that. So President Biden is winning the week in terms of holding off that big dam from breaking. That did not happen. At least it hasn't happened yet. So the pressure campaign has worked. The question is, though, how much...
It's so funny. He's distracted with stupid-ass NATO in the meantime. It's such a perfect analogy for Joe Biden. He's literally like, his campaign's on fire. The fucking... People hate him. Oh, my God. I fucking swore. I got so close. I got so close. Timer 10 minutes. Joe Biden made me angry. It's a perfect analogy for Joe Biden's presidency because everything going on in the immediate that's time sensitive is completely falling apart and on fire. His disapproval continues to go up. Oh God, Mr. President. And he's busy twiddling his thumbs with NATO. Which doesn't ever make him look better or give him any kind of advantage in America or like abroad or in his campaign in this circumstance. Like it's not, this doesn't help him. No one cares. America is dying and falling apart. And people are demanding answers to their immediate problems. And he is the president. But he's giving a speech to a bunch of military treaty leaders. Like military alliance leaders.
Much more difficult of a race to run is this now for the next 4 months?
Watching
and
NATO.
It's pretty significant.
Talk me through that. What are the signs, or as concrete as they can get? What are the concrete signs that his path has been made any more difficult since that debate performance?
Okay, the bottom line
when
is...
I'm bored all day, but then everyone goes online at once. Oh, man. I try to stream when no one else does, but I'm bad at that.
The map is expanding. It has gotten extraordinarily more difficult in some of the swing states since that debate. And we should point out, even before the debate, former President Donald...
Did you know Hassan reacted to it for years? Yeah, I know. They didn't finish it, though. It's a bummer. But I hope you liked it, at least.
Trump was leading in many of these states. But if you look at our road to 270, of course, that is the magic number needed to win. Some important adjustments here. Look at Michigan. That now, in our rankings, is lean Republican.
But he made a YouTube video about it? No, that wasn't him.
Michigan.
That was one of his Clip Industrial Complex channels.
And Pennsylvania and Wisconsin. That is part of the blue wall that Biden has been holding on to, needing to win. Not saying he...
Dude, we're not even... Michigan is supposed to be part of the blue wall. This is so bad, dude. Dude, these polls are like... These are probably kind of generous, too. I'm going to be real. Minnesota, I don't think is the lock that... I think Minnesota's deep red with Biden. I don't know even about Virginia either. I mean, Joe Biden's campaign was putting out slips in New York saying New York is now a battleground state. That's bad. Soda! That is really bad. I don't have a soundboard, so I just had to do it.
Can't, but it's in a very much more difficult position than they were hoping it would be here in the month of July. Also look out west to Nevada and Arizona.
Is that
Arizona
the hate
is
Reddit?
still a
I don't even
battleground
know.
in our map. A toss-up, but Nevada is much more difficult, and the Biden campaign is aware of this. Also Georgia. Of course,
Minnesota will stay blue? I don't know. If it's Joe Biden, I don't know.
Site of the debate has always been one of the more difficult battlegrounds for President Biden to win, but they've been investing heavily there. Now that...
I mean, Oregon is leaning. That's so bad that Oregon is not deep blue. So bad, dude. Remember also how I said Joe Biden had the, start of political momentum and acceptance and actual enthusiasm for the first time, like pretty publicly, for the incorporation of Puerto Rico and Washington, D.C. as new states, and completely ignored it. It never even became a conversation. Like, Just saying, it would have really come in handy right now. Not that I think he would have been able to do it by now, but I mean,
that is lean Republican.
Come in handy.
Minnesota, I am told by many Democratic advisors and strategists now that is.
I live in Southern Oregon, and Trump flags are everywhere. The further northwest you go, the more blue the state becomes. Yeah, Oregon is one of the most racist states in America. If you know anything about Oregon, you know why. There are like blue areas in Oregon where the population centers are, but most of Oregon's really rural, and the rural people that live there are Nazis and white supremacists, and they like to come into the towns, and you know when they do, because they fly Trump flags, or they have like giant trucks. They do terrorism in Seattle and Portland. There's Proud Boys around there. That kind of stuff. Oregon, in its constitution, forbade black people from entering. They were I believe, the first state to outlaw slavery because, like outright, because black people weren't allowed in the state. Slavery was not legal. It's much worse than most red states. Yeah. Like, you forget how close Oregon is to Idaho, and there's a lot of Nazis in Idaho. That's where, like, a ton of them are.
Muay, this is my only message to ASK Ethan to react to smiling friends or play Biden dating sim redrum is alive Tunisia Antigua e Barbuda bandiera transgender Antigua e Barbuda Muay tridente Muay persona che scala She-Hulk is my favorite movie.
Yeah, I will get to the Joe Biden dating sim. Not tonight, but I will.
Is also on the cusp of becoming more difficult as well. So we have moved that into lean Republican.
Crazy.
So the bottom line here is the battleground map is expanding. The opportunities.
Everyone is a Nazi? What do you mean? I'm talking about actual neo-Nazis. Do you think I'm just like exaggerating? Like, I'm talking about people who drive into Seattle and Portland on their weekends waving Nazi flags from their trucks. Like, I'm like, what do you mean everyone? Vancouver, another good example. Like, guys who say, like, sarcastically, like, everyone's a Nazi, or, like, have a problem with that, they just don't want to call anybody a Nazi. Which is not how it works. Bum F towns in Washington, too, for some reason we have Nazis, because it's rural and isolated. The real Nazis were the friends we made along the way. True. Number one Weezer fan 9000. I guess this chatter fell asleep or something. The naughty Sandman fell asleep. The Sandman came, got naughty with him. Oh, there you go. You could say fascist instead. I mean, a white supremacist fascist is the same thing as a Nazi. Because they're Eurocentric and often idolize Nazis. Like, now you're just playing semantics. It was just a silly reason to, like, eye roll at someone. Like, Nazi sympathizers, I would even consider Nazis. You see what I mean? Nazi collaborators. Anyway.
For Donald Trump to win have grown. And Minnesota, you may think, well, that sounds like a Democratic state.
Yeah, I guess everything is offensive vibes.
2016, that was the narrowest defeat for Donald Trump over Hillary Clinton. Just lost it by about 1 percentage point.
Go. I mean, I'm goated. No swearing. No goated.
So think of Minnesota from here forward as the reddest blue state, if you will. So the bottom line to all of this race is now more difficult for President Biden going into the finals.
What are we doing today? I'm just covering Nancy Pelosi's kind of vague calls for Biden to, quote, make a decision and do whatever he wants. I just want him to do, the right thing.
Stretches here. So he won the pressure campaign, at least so far this week in Washington. But what type of a race is left for him? And it's harder, Kate.
So with new comments just this morning, the former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi is leaving the door open for President Biden to potentially step aside from...
Like, the fact that Nancy Pelosi leaves this door open says something about what the establishment is thinking. And that is mainly because of donors. George Clooney, for example, wrote an op-ed today saying Joe Biden should step aside. Now, that might sound funny out of context, but his wife is heavily involved in the Democratic Party, and he is a huge Democratic donor and personal friends with Barack Obama. Life in prison? What did he do? Sexual assault?